Welcome to the podcast of the impossible. I'm Peter Wood, and my magical guest today also has a building material for a last name. It is the one and only Adam Stone. Do you ever get, do people talk about that at all, or am I the first one?
No, I think you're the first one.
Really?
Think,
okay.
No, and yeah, I was at a convention, and I was sitting next to Meadow Perry and River, not Phoenix, River something, but it was Stone, Meadow, and River all in a line.
Awesome.
No one even mentioned it.
I should have been there.
I was just trying to figure out a way to say something about it.
Yeah. I guess I get it more because I build things out of wood. And I suppose if you were a mason, either the fraternal kind or the mortar kind, that I bet you would hear more of that, but it just doesn't pop up with people. So I don't know.
Something to start working on.
Yeah,
I'll get on it.
Well,
I
was curious. I kind of wanted to chat about virtual shows because. Okay. That was definitely something that I saw, you jumped on that bandwagon along with me and a whole bunch of folks. Not even jumped on the bandwagon makes it sound like we had a choice. We had a choice. The choice was you could either do shows at home in front of a camera or don't do shows. Those were the choices. But I was just curious what, maybe talk about, anything that you, what surprised you about virtual shows, either in a good way or in a bad way. When you sort of started getting into that, what popped up that was unexpected?
I'm surprised how much I really liked it. Mm-hmm. I didn't think I would. And the part of it is all of the magic I like to do. I really like the interactive piece of magician and person from the audience coming up and doing something together, because I feel like that makes it more impossible. And I myself, I like people, and so having that moment with those people, that means a lot. And then when it went virtual, trying to figure out how I was going to have that still happen, even though we were apart, was that in the beginning. It's like, well, I don't know if you can really even do that, and then. And then I had a school that I had done a show for contact me, and a live show, and they're like, look, we just want to do something special for the kids. We're not expecting anything big. Just would you try something? Cool. And I always say yes. It doesn't matter what it is. I always say yes. So I said yes, and it went okay. Like, there were definitely elements that worked. There were some elements that did not work, but it was a learning curve, so that's okay.
Right. And yeah, what I do find weirdly, I've got some things that I will miss about. I mean, like probably not the last global pandemic that I'll be involved with. Let's be honest, but knock on self, But there are some things, yeah, right. Look at that. That was an unintentional callback. But so are there? I mean, I'm sure just like me, like I certainly didn't mind the commute. That was lovely to be able. Although I was talking with our friend Joel, and we were talking about how funny it is that sort of you kind of want that decompression sometimes. After a show, the drive home is part of the experience. But what kind of stuff were you doing? Like maybe give a couple of examples of things that you feel like were unique to your Zoom show that you're sort of missing now that you're not, because you're in person with people.
Oh, so yeah. So part of the problem is I was able to do some things on Zoom that I could never replicate live. Mm-hmm. And my favorite thing that I did was it was for kid shows. I would ask the audience if anybody, I say, I'm hungry, I'm really hungry, I just got to get a little snack. Does anybody have anything to eat? And then one of the kids would hold something up, and I'd say, I'm going to let you go hide it. If I can find it, can I eat one of those things? And they'd be like, yeah. And the kid would run off screen. They'd go hide it in their room or wherever. And then they'd come back, and I would snap my fingers, and on the screen, I would disappear. And then I would reappear holding their container of their thing.
Nice.
And it started off as a signed book thing. And there's still parents that have the books that I've signed that their kids that, and, but like, I can't do that.
Why not? No, yeah. We're running into the
Peter. Right. I don't want to.
I'm so tired. We're running into the Criss Angel problem though, which is funny about like Criss Angel made a name for doing magic on TV that is not possible in person. And that was fine while it was still a TV show. And then the funny thing is when people show up to see him live at his Las Vegas show, a lot of folks are disappointed because it's not an audience full of paid people and he doesn't have camera edits and control and all that stuff. So it is funny how we all sort of made that bed and then had to sleep in it.
I don't know. Like a lot of the stuff I did, but I also did I did some stop motion stuff with Legos.
Yeah.
I did a Lego trip where the Lego guys would come to life. And gosh, I would love if they'd come to life in my birthday party, but they won't.
Yeah. I think we lots of servos would be involved. That'd be quite a rig to bring in and plop down somewhere. And even then, I'm sure, I remember I saw a clip of that. You shared with me, and there was just a wonderful sense of whimsy about it. And also, I think I appreciate. I know I appreciate, and I think the people appreciated that. This is just supposed to be fun. Like there was no kid sitting on a couch saying, I know how it's done. It's a pre-recorded video. Like, oh, okay, fine. Like that's not what it's about. And often with magic, that sort of is my feeling about, okay, I guess bare minimum is that you need to be fooled, but really it's about, was it entertaining? Did it make you laugh? That sort of stuff. And virtual shows are no different,
Yeah. There's, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that went over for the adults as well for that. Like they did not buy the Legos, but the way I had set up the food thing, the eating the snack, like I would read in the comments as they're going through and it's like, what the heck? How is he doing? It's like, awesome. That's right. So
no, that's good.
Yeah. It was, I liked it too, because I feel like, because I came into this so much later, I've only been doing this for 4 years now.
Right.
And during the pandemic, that it kind of leveled the playing field for me. And honestly, it actually set it more in my advantage. I used to teach technology. So I taught at the Maryland School for the Blind, and I taught robotics and engineering and computers. And because of that, like I had gone through an extensive background in this, and they also had me they wanted to live stream the sporting events. So because a lot of the kids their families lived a really great distance away. It's kids from all over the state. They even pull in some kids from Jersey and Pennsylvania. And so for those parents to be able to be a part of these events, they wanted to have that. And so they're like, hey, figure this out. And it's like, okay. So so I had blind people on cameras, like videoing sporting events. And they had a headset on and was, okay, a little to the left. Yep. The other left. Very good. So cool. There you go. So, and honestly, I don't know if it would be much different than it was just a vanilla middle school kid where it would be like, hey, stop fooling around. Go to the left. So yes, probably just more patient, I think.
That's yeah, and at least with your video crew that you had to work with, everyone was aware that they weren't able to get in all the information, as opposed to someone who could get all the information just choosing not to, is they're distracted or what have you, like you say, doing something else.
That's true. That's very true. I guess.
Well, and you were cooking up. I mean, I appreciate your creativity. Like you come up with some interesting ideas and premises for routines. Was that happening before COVID and Zoom, or did it sort of blossom as a result of that? I realize you can't do the A/B test. There's no alternate version of Adam that didn't have the Zoom shows, but I'm just curious if you have a sense of how that was impacted in terms of creativity.
That's kind of, so that's a tough question just because of timing. So I did 1 year of professional magic before the pandemic. So 2019 in August, I had started. And so a lot of that period was trying to figure out like what people like to see. And I like, you don't really know, because I still don't have a very good understanding of exactly what magic is supposed to be, especially when performing for magicians, because like when you perform for a magician, I assume they know like all of the methods that I'm using behind it, but they definitely want to come and they want to watch. And there's a lot of always like folding and just staring, but I don't understand, like, if you know all of it, why? But then at the same time, I mean, you were on Penn and Teller Fool Us, and that's really the point of that show. And so explain that. Help me understand that. That's what I would like to know. That's my question for you.
Yeah. Sure. No, I think I love going and watching a magic show. And I love it because I almost always learn something. Sometimes it's what not to do, or a choice that they made that I disagree with. But when someone's really good at it, then I just enjoy seeing. I can't. I mean, if you talk to a chef and say, "Now you don't go out to restaurants, right? You just." Because I'm sure you're disappointed by food all the time. And the answer, I'm sure, for them is, well, yeah, there's a lot of times where I go out to a restaurant and I'm disappointed in the food. But I still like to eat. I mean, in that case, you have to. Yeah. But even then, I assume that if you have to eat, then you might just go to fast food all the time. So I'm sure that a chef will go out to a restaurant that is not theirs and still attempt to have a good time and enjoy it. And I think that there are a bunch of magic is weird in general, first of all, because if you tell someone that you're a plumber, they assume that is your 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. But magic and magicians, that kind of gets into the realm of a musician or a writer. Those are the main ones that I've found, where if you tell someone you're a writer, you kind of want to ask the follow-up questions like, okay, does that mean that you are a hedge fund kid and you identify as a writer, but that's not what you're doing to make a living? Like that's the artistic thing that you're proud of that you want to put forward, or is that how you're paying your bills? And like, on the one hand, it's not really any of my business. It's all about, okay, fine. If you're a writer, if you want to tell me you're a writer, great, you're a writer. But I think with magic, one of the things I've learned hanging out behind a magic shop counter is that 95% of people who identify as magicians are amateurs, and they're happy. I mean, it's a hobbyist thing, and so I think a lot of time, I mean, it would be almost as absurd if somebody says, "I'm a professional model railroader," and people will just look at you like, "Well, how do you even?" And so I think for you and me, people are thinking, well, if you're not in Las Vegas, how is this your job? So given all that, most magicians are not professionals, and yet I think most magicians still enjoy watching magic. But it is hard to remember what it's like to be a spectator. And I find myself, if I'm at a show, I do kind of want to sit there and not be I am actively engaged on a cerebral level, and therefore I'm forgetting to react, because what I'm sitting there thinking about is, oh, that was clever. I like how he used that. I don't know if I would have done that. I mean, but it's sort of is like in a good way, picking it apart, and sort of analyzing it and forgetting that it is live and you can see me just as well as I can see you. And I'm supposed to be laughing and clapping and reacting as though I don't know what is happening, you know? But it's an acting role. I think a lot of magicians either aren't good at acting or aren't thinking about being a good guest in that other person, in that host's audience, you know? Who do you, in terms of like live shows, what are, you mentioned Copperfield on TV, but are there some other sort of touchstone magician go-tos who you love watching, or who you know, even from the past, if they're not working anymore, but somebody who you remember seeing and was particularly inspiring?
Yes, definitely. Like I do watch a lot of YouTube magicians. I've got to see you live, and that was phenomenal at the Hereford. Is it Hereford?
The Hereford Library.
Hereford.
Yeah.
No, I was at the big festival thing.
The big DC Festival of Magic?
No.
Oh, sorry. The fair that I do, the Howard County Fair.
Yes,
we're keeping all this in. We're nothing gets cut. I've been doing the Howard County Fair for 22 years. Yeah.
It started with an H. I'm dyslexic, by the way, as well, so I have a very strange memory system where. Oh man. Yes, first letter. If I get the first letter, I'm very happy with that. And so it was Hereford, Hartford, Howard County. Yes, the Howard County Fair. I saw you there, and that was phenomenal, and I really enjoyed that. And I had taken my daughters with me, and I was talking to one this morning, and I said, I'm going to get to do a podcast with Peter Wood. And then she goes, a magician that did the light thing? And it's like, yes, the magician that had the light.
Yes. All right. I'm not the only one who likes the lights. That's good.
No, we loved it. And she's like, are you going to ask him how to do it? And it's like, no, I'm not. And I feel like as magicians, we can't, because I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea how that effect works. And but part of it is because I loved your presentation of it so much. It was so engaging, and it was truly so impossible. And because of that, I don't want to just know, because I feel that would hurt me as a magician. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like I've only been doing this 4 years, so I have a very limited amount of time before I know too many methods, and where I am very much going to lose my layman listener as a person that is you.
Yeah, well, sure. Yeah. You
don't have a magic background, so yes. But I feel like I'm going to lose that. And I went to another magician I saw live was Derek Delgadio. I saw his show in New York, in and of itself. And I don't know. I was describing it to people at work, and they're like, I don't think that's really a magic show. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if it was a magic show. There was definitely magic there, but it was more, I don't know. But anyways, going back to that, I ended up being one of the people that got an envelope. I didn't get called up to do it, though I would have done a lot better than the person they called up, I just have to say, because I would have lost my mind. But I got a letter. They came up to me after. They said, are you Adam Stone? It's like, yes, what did I do? And they're like, no, we have a letter for you. You have a letter. Please don't open it until you leave the theater. And so I didn't, and I ended up getting this letter from my brother. And it's like, hey, I'm really proud of you for all you're doing. And it's like, I have no idea. Like, no one knew I was going to this show. No one knew I was going to the show. And there's this letter that's just there. And so, like, I could figure it out because I could ask my brother. It's like, how the heck did you get that? But because he didn't know I was going. But somehow this letter appeared. So I could figure it out, but I don't want to, you know? Sure. How much would that ruin it if I knew, like, I don't know. It's been years now, and I still have that in my head. So,
no, it's good. That's what I mean, and I think that's the high we're all chasing. Even as people who love to perform this stuff, we also remember how much fun. I think there's got to be some level of that. You know, you remember how much fun it was to be fooled. And that's part of why we enjoy sharing that joy with other people. But then at the same time, the more you know, I totally agree with like you, it's harder and harder. And I'm confident that is part of why Penn and Teller are doing what they're doing in terms of Fool Us, is because it is, I mean, it's a great TV show. On top of that, I'm sure it, obviously helps to sell them tickets, but it also is a magnet for people from all over the globe who they would not get a chance to see otherwise. And then I'm sure it is that moment of, they've talked before about how the Fool, when someone gets a trophy, it's normally a feeling like we feel like we were fooled because we went down one path and then we were wrong, as opposed to, there've been guys on there who do a card routine and they do 17 different sneaky things throughout it. And it's kind of like, all right, I don't know 100% every little tiny thing you did, but I feel like I know the building blocks and I don't feel like I was fooled by it. So even at that level, they're still chasing that high, this is a lovely chat. I appreciate your hanging out here with me. And I do have a couple other questions. I'm going to do a little tease for the next time that we're chatting. You've been involved with a really cool project that I'm really happy survived COVID, and that is Pose Magic, which is a recurring magic event in downtown Baltimore. And so I want to hear more about that, but that is going to have to wait till the next episode. For our friend who's listening, if they want to find out more about you, I would suggest that they head over to adamstonemagic.com, or they can find you on the social medias. That is at adamstonemagic. For me, that is it for this episode of the podcast of the impossible. But for my public shows, social media, and special projects, you can head on over to oftheimpossible.com. I'm Peter Wood. Thanks much.